Okay, we're going live. Let's do it. Let's see, are we live on YouTube yet? Yes, we are. Okay, perfect. Let's go live on the gram. Let's go live on the gram. And boom. All right, now let me pin this comment and we will start. What's up, everybody? Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Welcome. Of course, it's a lovely day. Once again, the sun is shining on my face. It looks beautiful. This week was interesting, y'all. Hip hop this weekend. Let's just talk about it. Let's talk about it because everybody's been like calling me, texting me, and they've been wanting to know my opinion on what's going on with Drake and of course Kendrick. So I want to preface all this, I've listened to both sides. What's up? What's up, side? I've listened to both sides, right, thoroughly. Hold up, sorry guys, technical difficulties. I've listened to both sides, Kendrick and Drake. Hold up, my mic went out. Okay, I've listened to both sides, Kendrick and Drake. And I think it's clear. Hold on, I'm having some mic difficulties real quick. Give me a second. Okay. I think it's clear that Kendrick won, obviously. And here's my reasonings for that. Like, I think from a lyrical standpoint, he won. From just a tactical, like if we just talking pure tactics, pure like just like studying your opponent, and like this is just like anybody, when you in the ring with somebody, you got to study your opponent, you got to anticipate their next move in order to really defeat them. This goes back to like the art of war and just knowing what the other person has up their sleeves, kind of like studying them. I feel like Kendrick really studied Drake and really studied, where he could like what his weaknesses were, what his own weaknesses were, where Drake could like hit him at, and like so I think from a lyrical standpoint, Kendrick had Drake beat. I think from just a tactical standpoint, Kendrick had Drake beat. I think from what other places, yeah, pretty much all of those different aspects. I will say that I think with all of this though, like time management and just understanding, how much energy we're giving towards things like this is important, because a lot of people tuned into this beef this past weekend. Like millions of people tuned into Kendrick versus Drake, and it's entertainment. It's entertainment at the end of the day. You got two guys who are well acclaimed in the industry going at it. So of course people want to know like what they have to say. But I think with all of that, it's important to know where you stand, like what your end goal is in terms of like what you're getting out of something, like why you're tuning into something. I think that's important. So that we're not like mindlessly listening and just tuning in just for the heck of it. I know for me, I tuned in because this is my industry. It's important for me to be up to date on what's going on within hip hop and things like that. So, but I'm not like a fan of anybody beefing. Like I'm not a fan of that, or just talking bad about one another. Like that's not my thing. I understand it. I understand like the roots of hip hop and things like that. So but yeah, I think it's clear Kendrick won. I think if in order for Drake to like come back to life, I feel like he has to like really drop something like right now. Like he got to drop today, and it has to be very relevant. It has to be some like monumental trash on Kendrick in order to win. But with that, today I want to talk about The Power of an Hour. The Power of an Hour, which is a book by Dave. I don't know how to say his last name. I'm gonna just take a guess. Lakhani, but forgive me, Dave, if you're watching this. I highly doubt he is, but in the case he does. But yeah, so The Power of an Hour, and our most valuable resource, it's art. People can argue and say it's money. But I think our most valuable resource that we have is time, because without time, you cannot get money. I can't go out work. I can't budget, manage my money, or things like that if I don't have the time to do it. So I think time is the most valuable resource that we have as humans, and we all have the same amount of time within a certain day, within a certain whatever span, if you will. So it's not a matter of not having enough time. It's a matter of not having enough focus, which is the first takeaway that I got when reading this book. For anyone interested, this book is all about, in my opinion, time management, and just doing a better job, or becoming more aware of areas that you might need to tighten up in terms of time, how you spend your time. So first takeaway here is that it only takes an hour to initiate change. I'm sorry, let me go back. The first takeaway is actually that we have enough time, but we don't have enough focus. And that just goes back to looking up the definition of what does it mean to focus. So I looked up the definition of what it meant to focus, and according to the Oxford Dictionary, it's an act of concentrating interest or activity on something. So when it comes to being able to focus on something for a long period of time, you have to have two things. You have to have the ability to be able to concentrate, which is a major component to being able to focus, and then you also have to have an interest in what it is that you're focusing on. A lot of times focusing is very difficult because we don't really care about what it is that we have to focus on. So this goes back to the classic example of maybe a relationship where you or your partner might, let's say your partner is getting on you because they're like, you never pay attention to the details, you never da da da, and it's like you're like, I do, but they're like, no, you don't. And it's like, it kind of boils down to, well, you just don't focus on your partner enough. You don't care enough to pay attention to the small details, to pay attention to, things that might get underneath their skin or things like that. So, focus requires concentration, and it requires for you to be interested in what it is that you're focusing on. Now, we practice focusing, while we're in school, and elementary school, middle school, high school. That whole process involves focusing and building the capacity to focus. Now, of course, there's other factors that play into how well we focus in school. There's different factors like what's going on in the classroom at the time, or whatever's happening around us that might take away from our ability to be able to focus. So the next kind of thing to kind of jump off of that, the fact that we have time but we just don't have enough focus, is there's barriers to focus. So when we're trying to focus, we might experience either mental fatigue because we're just exhausted from the week. A lot of us work, a lot of us have jobs and commitments. Some people might have kids, families that they have to tend to. And so all of that takes away from your ability to be able to focus. Also, we procrastinate. There's environmental factors that play a role in our ability to focus. Things like, let's say you live with somebody who listens to the music loud. I'm just giving an example. And so, of course, that's gonna take away from your ability to be able to focus. Also, there's energy drainers. So friends, family, and partners, all of those types of people can drain your energy. Your level of education can be a barrier to focus. So maybe you just literally don't know enough information about something in order to focus on it enough. So you might need to, go get that information. Your financial status could be stressing you out. So you're not able to focus enough, long enough to, because you're so worried about bills. Your self-esteem, how you feel about yourself matters when it comes to being able to focus. Like, do you even, like, are you constantly worried about, let's say you at a library, are you constantly worried about what someone's thinking of you, what you look like all these things, we may or may not know, but they play a role in us being, our ability to be able to focus. So the next thing I want to talk about is like energy thieves, and how there are people in our lives, that we may or may not be aware of, that are taking our energy, whether they know it, whether you know it or don't. And this kind of brings me back to what J. Cole said about, you can't be everything to everybody. Like that line when he said it in Sacrifices, and ironically the song is called Sacrifices, but it's true. Like, as much as we love the people around us, we love our family, we love our friends, we love interacting with people, we have to put boundaries on our interactions with one another in order to be able to control the amount of energy that we're giving a situation or a person. And your world relies on your ability to be able to focus on whatever your goals are, whatever it is that you want out of life, whatever, essentially just whatever you want to have. It relies on your ability to be able to focus on that, act on that, and do that consistently over time. Self-awareness is a tool that you can use to optimize your environment to better suit your goals. So, for example, if I know that I get distracted easily, then I might position my workspace in a space where I can't get distracted. So, like if there's windows, I might maybe close them, or if for anyone who's listening, let's say that you get distracted by your phone, so you might want to do something like put your phone in another room when you're trying to focus, or things like that, so that you can maintain your ability to focus. Next takeaway is that it only takes an hour to initiate change. And that's super powerful, because oftentimes we underestimate the power of an hour. When we're having fun, that an hour goes by extremely fast. When we're not having fun, an hour tends to be very long, and like an hour can be very dreadful, when we're experiencing something that we don't want to. But an hour is the same. It's the way that we're looking at the hour that's changing. The hour stays the same. But virtually anyone can extract themselves from the rigors of daily life and invest 1 hour a day to create change. So it only takes an hour. And it kind of brings me to like Atomic Habits. This book is very similar to Atomic Habits in a sense that your habits create your life. So if you have good habits and you have good habits over time, eventually you'll have the life that you're intended to, that you want. So this basically goes to that, is that by investing an hour each day over time, you can create the change that you want in your life. The book also states that like anything more than an hour is typically harder. It becomes harder to concentrate, because for whatever reason, like if you're focusing very hard for that hour, you need a break. It's like basic A plus B equals C, or just basic the balance of life. Like you can't just go super hard all the time and not have time to let your brain relax. And the book also talks about how like when you do allow your brain to relax, that's the space where you can there's a lot of potential for different ideas and different ways of seeing a problem that can come just by relaxing, just by taking a walk, just by getting up, going to use the bathroom, going, kind of like breaking that session up, if you will, that focusing session up, if you will. So yeah, the book also proposes like a rule, kind of like a time management rule for like within an hour. So of course, there's 60 minutes within an hour, and it says that if you follow like a 45-15 rule, where you spend 45 minutes of just fearsome focus, meaning you're only focusing on that one thing that you want to do for that 45 minutes, and then the 15 minutes, which is typically at the last part of the hour, 15 minutes of that hour, you spend for necessary non-focused activities. So things like returning emails, phone calls, web searches, and all those things. And it also says, if you can't finish all that within that 15 minutes, then, going the next power hour that you have, spend 45 minutes focusing on the activity that you want to accomplish, and then those 15 minutes, finish it, following up with the emails that you didn't finish from the previous hour. So this is like really, I feel like this is really beneficial for anybody who's like an entrepreneur or someone who really has to hone in on time management. It could be beneficial for, people in school, students, college students who are trying to accomplish an assignment or get on a pattern of homework routine, something to keep you on a good trajectory for accomplishing whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. And with creating good habits, the end goal is always to establish a discipline for the desired outcome you want. So basically, building the strong habit, you have to build that discipline over time, build the capacity to basically condition your brain and condition your mind that, all right, I'm gonna get this done, and whether I like it or not, so that there's no like emotional attachment to it. Oftentimes, like when we set goals or when we want to change things, we're coming from an emotional state of like, I want to do this because it's going to make me feel better about myself. But we have to attack things in the mind, because that's where we'll start to see the change. We have to condition our minds and say, okay, what is it that I want to change? Why do I want to change this? How is this going to benefit me? What happens if I don't change this? You have to like consider all these different things in order to understand the emphasis on why it's important to make that change and to do that act consistently over time. You just want to build a strong habit. It's just like going to the gym. You go to the gym, you lift the same weight. I was talking to somebody earlier today about how I hate doing squats. Like, I absolutely hate doing squats. I hate doing, what are they called? Lunges. Squats and lunges. I hate it. But they pointed out to me that the muscle group, the amount of muscles that you're working when you do a squat, it overpowers just doing like maybe one exercise that maybe might focus on just one thing. So like if I'm doing calf raises, it only focuses on the calves. But like if I'm working on lunges or squats, it focuses on glutes, quads, what else? Lower back, all these different muscle groups. So I'm getting more of a benefit. And although I hate doing them every week, I'm seeing, the growth of that. And so it's like, it's the same with building a healthy habit. It's just like, you might not want to, and you might hate it, but you just have to condition your mind and tell your mind, like, this is good for me. And I'm going to get what I want from doing this consistently over time. I just got to stick with it. Third takeaway from this book is that relationships need to be categorized by their usefulness. This is important. This is really important because oftentimes we have relationships in our lives that are not useful. Simply, they're just not useful. They're not useful for our growth. They're not useful for our finances. You get around certain people and you just spend money. It's like, you didn't even want to spend money, but you get around this person and now you $50 in the hole, $100 gone because, this person is encouraging you to go spend money. And, you can't blame things while you're spending money on them. You just have to take accountability and understand the type of relationship that you have with this person know that every time I get around this person, I spend money. What is it about, this relationship that makes me feel like I need to spend money? But essentially, it's just categorizing your relationships so that you can manage them properly. And the book states that we can put our relationships with people into 4 different categories. Now, is this like the end all categories that you can possibly categorize your friend group or the people in your life? Absolutely not. But it's a way. And if you don't have any current way of categorizing the people in your life, this is a nice suggestion, in my opinion. So the way you can do it is you put people into family category, which is self-explanatory. Anybody that you've grown up with, live with, blood. Second category is mutually beneficial and supportive relationships. So these are like your people who might be in the same industry as you. They can empathize with you. They know what you're dealing with. Maybe like if I'm an entrepreneur, want somebody else that's also an entrepreneur, we might be able to benefit one another and have conversations about what we're going through. That's a mutually beneficial and supportive relationship. There's also the category of long-term friends. So these are your people. Maybe you grew up with them in high school. Maybe y'all went to middle school together. Maybe y'all played on the same basketball team, and you kind of drifted apart because of life. But this person is still someone that you consider a long-time friend. Someone that someone that you would like to keep in your life, that you would like to continue to build that relationship with. And the 4th type of category are one-sided relationships, which is the red flag of it all. You don't want to be in a situation or have relationships with people where it's one-sided. And, one-sided could look like either them taking advantage of you or you taking advantage of them. I'm gonna let you figure out who's doing the taking advantage of, who, but it's not a good relationship to be in. Eventually somebody, whoever's being taken advantage of, they're going to feel a way, and they're going to respond in a way that might not be the best. It's only a matter of time before they start to regret or maybe have feelings of resentment, for the relationship. So you definitely want to stay clear of those. And also, when it comes to relationships and, categorizing them by their usefulness or just building them in general, you want to make sure that when you're networking or when you're building these connections with people, that it's you're tending to them. So the book talks about how connections are like gardens. You have to tend to them. You can't just let things grow, or you can't just let weeds grow and just expect for things to grow without watering, without plucking weeds, without sunlight, all that. And you have to be intentional about the value that you add to somebody or to something. So with networking, oftentimes we just come into the room, we say hello, we introduce ourselves, and we give our contact information, but we're not necessarily thinking about how we can add value to people. And that's the biggest thing, is when you're networking with someone, you have to kind of be strategic about it and have an idea of how you either want to help this person or how you want this person to help you, and what you're going to give in exchange for that. It's a mutually beneficial relationship, which is what we talked about last week. Symbiotic relationships. So those are the 3 takeaways from reading this book, Power of an Hour. I'd highly recommend it for anybody who's an avid reader. I think it's a really simple read as well, because there's 23 chapters, and each chapter it stands by itself. So you don't have to read the book from beginning to end to be able to get something from it. You can read one chapter that's relevant to whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, and then you can sit it down, pick it back up, read another chapter that's relevant to what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and then same thing, which is kind of the way that I've been using it. And lastly, there's a few questions that I want to leave with you all to help you visualize what a perfect life looks like for you, or to basically help you figure out how you want to spend your time. So those questions, let me go to that page. The questions, I'll put them in different categories because there's a lot. And I'll do 2 questions per category. And the category is, all right, so for the category of, what a perfect life looks like for you, a question might be, how do I reward myself? So you might want to ponder on how do I reward myself? What kind of knowledge do I have that others are seeking? When it comes to, your career or your business, some questions you might want to ask yourself are, how do I feel when I experience my career daily? Do I feel fulfilled? Do I feel excited? You could also ask yourself, when will my career or business be complete? These are things you might want to consider for, retirement or just future planning, maybe really like complete future planning. Some questions you might ask when it comes to a relationship. How do I disagree? If let's say you're in a relationship with someone, you can ask a question of, how do we disagree? How are we different from one another? And then what limiting beliefs, emotions, thoughts, or ideas did I overcome to attract the perfect partner? When it comes to your spirituality, you can ask yourself, what do I believe? What beliefs do I have that are mainstream? What beliefs do I have that are not mainstream? And when it comes to your financial situation, you can ask yourself, how does my wealth make me feel? What is the next big thing I'll do with my money? What does money get for me? And then just, some miscellaneous questions that you can ask yourself are, what is my contribution to the world? Where was I stuck and what did I do to overcome it? And then what do I do to continue to explore and learn? So there's so many different questions this book proposes that, to help you gain an awareness of what it is that you're trying to change, so that you can learn how to use your time more wisely, learn how to structure in specific hours within a day, or maybe just specific minutes within a day, to focus on whatever it is that you want to change in your life, whether that be finances, your current business situation, relationships, and things like that. And also, lastly, there's a few resources that the book gives to help anybody who's like super serious about time management, or just helping you structure your thoughts. And those things are mindjet.com, so mindjet, like the jet you fly on.com, and Miro, which is like Miro. It's a mind manager, strategic planning, creative thinking, etc. So I hope you guys could get some things out of this book, The Power of an Hour by Dave Lakhani. And tune in next week for another episode with me as I share some key takeaways from books that I've read. Happy Sunday, everybody. Y'all stay safe and focus on something good this week. Focus on, not good. That's kind of vague. Focus on, be intentional about what you want to focus on this week. So it's Sunday. We got 5 days coming up here, inshallah. And, be intentional about what it is that you want to accomplish this week, and use the power of an hour to do that. I'll see y'all later. Bye.